fishermen think they found a seal on a floating iceberg until they get closer and realize they are. A group of fishermen go in search of crabs when they unexpectedly come upon a creature frozen on ice, floating out to sea by itself, and desperately in need of assistance. They think this is one of the ordinary marine creatures they typically see, such as a seal. But what it really is alters their journey and their lives for all time. A small fishing boat is owned by Cliff Russell, Mallory Harrigan, and Ellen Russell. Together, they searched the Labrador shore for interesting things, and they just came across something that filled the bill. The trio, who are from a tiny fishing community, had just been avid boaters. But eventually, they made the leap and launched their own fishing company to convert their pastime into a career. Mallory and her workers departed that day as they normally did, excited despite the frigid Newfoundland weather. They need to remain awake and aware of their surroundings since there are numerous dangers to avoid at sea, including weather patterns and wildlife, so their enthusiasm keeps them that way. The three can bring in a variety of aquatic creatures with their fishing boat. However, when combing the frigid northern seas, they notice more than just fishing crabs. Since the crew captures hundreds of fish each day, it is not unusual for one of them to cook food for their catch while the others attend to shipboard responsibilities. Mallory was keeping watch that day while one of her shipmates prepared to fish for shipment and food. Since Mallory had been working on the sea for some time, she was familiar with the dangers that lurked in the open ocean. This occasionally contains large icebergs. With big pieces of Arctic ice floating south sooner and earlier, iceberg sightings are actually rising. Mallory and her fellow sailors maintained their course through each season, but they were constantly aware of the ice's potential for peril. To stay safe and avoid drifting near the glacier giants while the crew is in dangerous conditions, all hands must be on deck. Among the creatures that call icebergs home are polar bears, penguins, and seals. Mallory and her crew are accustomed to seeing these animals when traveling, so as long as they avoid provoking them, they may both peacefully take in the scenery of the ocean. They were trawling for crabs one fateful day when they discovered something completely odd. On a big but quickly thinning piece of ice, the fishermen noticed a strange animal floating on an iceberg in the distance. At first, they assumed the creature was an Arctic seal. When they came closer, they started to panic, but then it nearly completely melted out from beneath it. It wasn't a seal. It was justified in being terrified since the creature, which was little and hairy, didn't have much time until its frozen perch completely broke down. Because they were unsure of how this animal would respond to their presence, the crew was also frightened. The fishermen discovered they had discovered a little chilly Arctic fox when the boat got close enough. It was obvious that the fox shouldn't have been so far out at sea by itself. The fox had no choice but to stay on board until the iceberg began to drift away. The group saved the famished and freezing fox and provided it with a cozy bed made of sawdust while it continued to trek out to sea. The fox was quite scared of humans while being taken somewhere else, but after some convincing it agreed to stay peacefully aboard the boat. The fox curled up for a nap on its makeshift bed and eventually fell asleep. The fox eventually understood that the people had no malicious intent, but it remained cautious. It had no idea that those people were planning to relocate it. On the edge of a desolate hill overlooking the sea, the fishermen discovered a new home for the fox in an old doghouse. As it sniffed around the little cabin, the fox appeared to like the limited environment of its new home. The fox turned around and looked back at its human companions. It was obvious that it had not become overly reliant on people as a result of its trauma, which is excellent for its safety and health in the future.